first contact and betrayal. The day the stars spoke back changed everything. Humanity had been broadcasting messages into the cosmos for decades, a hopeful chorus of greetings cast into the void. When the response came, it arrived not as a faint whisper from the depths of space, but as a thunderous proclamation that shook the very foundations of human civilization. The massive ship appeared in orbit without warning, its sleek, obsidian form blotting out the sun over major cities as it slowly rotated the planet. Panic gripped the world for several tense hours before the first transmission was received. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Galactic Confederation, and we welcome you to the cosmic community. Dr. Ava Chen sat in stunned silence, along with her colleagues at the SETI Institute, as the alien message played on repeat. As one of Earth's foremost xenolinguists, she had devoted her life to the possibility of this moment. Now that it had arrived, she felt a curious mix of elation and dread. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. World leaders scrambled to present a united front as they prepared for humanity's first face-to-face meeting with extraterrestrial life. Dr. Chen found herself thrust into the spotlight, appointed as the head of a linguistic team tasked with facilitating communication. When the delegation from the Galactic Confederation finally descended to Earth, the aliens revealed themselves to be a species called the Zixari. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. Their large, multifaceted eyes seemed to take in everything at once. "We have watched your species with great interest," the Zixari ambassador, Phylith, explained through a translator device. "Your potential is immense, but you are still young. We wish to guide you, to help you take your place among the stars." The offer seemed too good to be true. The Zixari promised to share advanced technologies, to cure diseases, to help solve Earth's environmental crisis. All they asked in return was for humanity to sign a treaty, agreeing to join the Galactic Confederation and abide by its laws. World leaders, dazzled by the prospects of a brighter future, were eager to sign. But as Dr. Chen worked tirelessly to improve communication with the Zixari, she began to notice discrepancies. "The syntax doesn't match," she muttered to herself one night, poring over transcripts in her dimly lit office. "It's as if they're using 2 different languages." Digging deeper, Ava discovered subtle variations in the Zixari's speech patterns when discussing different topics. When speaking about technology or resources, their language became more complex, filled with nuances that their translator devices consistently failed to capture. As the day of the treaty signing approached, Ava's concerns grew. She tried to voice her suspicions to her superiors, was brushed aside. "Don't rock the boat, Dr. Chen," she was told. "This is humanity's great leap forward." Desperate, Ava decided to take matters into her own hands. Using her clearance, she accessed the Zixari ship docked at the newly constructed spaceport. Under the guise of a cultural exchange, she managed to copy a vast database of Zixari language and history. Working through the night, fueled by caffeine and growing dread, Ava fed the data through her own experimental translation algorithms. As dawn broke, the truth revealed itself in cold, hard text on her screen. The Galactic Confederation was no benevolent alliance, but an empire built on subjugation. The Zixari were not saviors, but conquerors, using manipulated treaties to strip developing worlds of resources and reduce their populations to servitude. Ava's hands shook as she compiled her findings into a report. The treaty signing was mere hours away. She had to act fast. Racing across the city, Ava burst into the United Nations building just as world leaders were preparing to sign the treaty. Security tried to stop her, but she fought her way through, screaming, "It's a lie. They're here to enslave us." In the chaos that followed, Ava managed to present her evidence. The Zixari, realizing their deception had been uncovered, quickly dropped their benevolent facade. "You'll regret this defiance," Phylith snarled, all pretense of friendliness gone. "The Confederation will not be denied. We'll be back, and you'll wish you had accepted our generous offer." As the Zixari ship departed Earth's orbit, humanity was left reeling. The promise of a glorious future among the stars had been snatched away, replaced by the terrifying knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, and that the cosmos was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. In the days that followed, Dr. Ava Chen found herself at the center of a global initiative to prepare for the Zixari's inevitable return. Her expertise in xenolinguistics had saved humanity from immediate subjugation, but it had also placed a target on Earth's back. "We need to be ready," Ava insisted in meetings with world leaders and top scientists. "They'll come back with a fleet next time, not honeyed words." As humanity scrambled to advance its technology and bolster its defenses, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The Zixari database she had stolen contained more than just language and history. Buried deep within the data were references to other species that had resisted Confederation rule. "What if we're not alone in this fight?" Ava mused, staring at the stars from her office window. "What if there are others out there, hiding from the Confederation's grasp?" With renewed determination, Ava dove back into her research. As she decrypted more of the Zixari database, a plan began to form, a daring, almost impossible scheme that might just give humanity a fighting chance. Little did she know, her discovery would set in motion a chain of events that would change the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The silent vanguard of humanity was about to embark on its greatest journey, one that would challenge the very foundations of the cosmic order. As Ava worked late into the night, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if in anticipation of the incredible odyssey was about to unfold. The Exodus. The years following first contact were a crucible for humanity. The initial shock of the Zixari's true intentions gave way to a grim determination that united Earth's nations like never before. The looming threat of invasion hung over every decision, every scientific breakthrough, every child born into a world teetering on the brink of cosmic war. Dr. Ava Chen found herself at the heart of Earth's feverish preparations. Her expertise in xenolinguistics had expanded to encompass the intricacies of Zixari technology, gleaned from the stolen database that had saved humanity from immediate subjugation. But it was a race against time, and Ava knew that even with their accelerated progress, they couldn't hope to match the Confederation's military might. "We can't win a direct confrontation," Ava argued in a tense meeting with Earth's Unified Defense Council. "We need to think differently. We need to disappear." Her proposal was radical, a mass exodus of humanity from Earth, not to nearby stars where the Zixari would surely find them, but to the uncharted depths of the galaxy beyond the reach of the Confederation. The plan was met with incredulity at first. "You want us to abandon Earth?" demanded General Takashi Yamamoto, his voice tight with disbelief. "To run away?" Ava stood her ground. "Not to run away, General. To survive. To preserve our species and our freedom until we're strong enough to fight back." As the debate raged, a young engineer named Jack Harper stepped forward. "I think I might have a solution to make Dr. Chen's plan feasible," he said, his eyes bright with the fire of innovation. Harper's team had been working on an experimental propulsion system, one that drew inspiration from the Zixari's own technology, but took it in a radically different direction. "We call it the stealth drive," he explained, bringing up a holographic display. "It doesn't just move a ship through space, it moves the ship through the fabric of space-time itself, leaving no trace, no wake. We'd be invisible to their sensors." The implications were staggering. With such technology, a human fleet could potentially slip past the Confederation's borders undetected. As the reality of their situation sank in, the Council reluctantly agreed that Ava's plan, powered by Harper's stealth drive, was their best hope for survival. The Exodus project was born. The next few years were a flurry of activity unlike anything humanity had ever undertaken. Massive ships were constructed in secret facilities around the globe and on the far side of the moon. The stealth drive was refined and tested rigorously. But the greatest challenge was deciding who would go and who would stay. "We can't take everyone," Ava said softly, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. We need to preserve the best of our knowledge, our cultures, our diversity. But we also need to leave enough behind to mislead the Zixari, to make them think they've conquered all of humanity. The selection process was agonizing. Families were torn apart, friends separated. Those chosen to go struggled with the guilt of leaving others behind, while those staying behind grappled with the knowledge that they were sacrificing themselves for the future of their species. As the day of departure grew near, Ava found herself working closely with Jack Harper, now captain of the flagship of that Exodus fleet, the HSS Horizon. Despite the grim circumstances, she found his optimism infectious. "We're not just running away," Jack insisted one night as they overlooked the final preparations. "We're taking the best of humanity with us, Ava. Our hopes, our dreams, our potential. We'll find a new home among the stars, and one day, we'll come back and set things right." Ava nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "I hope you're right, Jack. The road ahead won't be easy." The day of the Exodus arrived with a tense stillness. The chosen few, numbering in the millions, but still only a fraction of Earth's population, boarded the fleet of stealth ships. Tearful goodbyes were exchanged, final messages recorded for loved ones left behind. Ava stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching as the last of the smaller ships docked with the massive vessel. Jack Harper settled into the captain's chair beside her, his face set with determination. "All ships report ready, Captain," the ship's AA announced. Stealth systems engaged and functioning normally. Jack took a deep breath, looking to Ava. She nodded, and he gave the command that would change the course of human history forever. "Initiate Exodus Protocol. Take us out." With a shimmer of distorted spacetime, the horizon and its fleet of ships vanished from Earth's orbit, leaving behind no trace of their passage. On the planet below, those left behind began the grim task of preparing for the Zixari's return, ready to play their part in the deception that would buy the Exodus fleet the time it needed to escape. As the fleet accelerated away from the solar system, Ava gazed out at the star-studded void, a mix of emotions swirling within her. They were leaving behind everything they had ever known, venturing into an unknown future filled with danger and uncertainty. But they were also carrying with them the hope of all humanity, the dream of freedom among the stars. "Where to, Captain?" she asked softly. Jack's eyes gleamed with determination as he studied the star charts. "To the edges of the galaxy and beyond, Dr. Chen. We'll find a home so far from the Confederation's reach that we'll have time to grow, to prepare. And when we're ready, we'll return to reclaim what's ours." As the Earth dwindled to a pale blue dot behind them, Ava felt a surge of pride in her species. Humanity had refused to bow to tyranny. Instead, they had chosen a bold, dangerous path to preserve their freedom. The silent vanguard of Earth was now racing across the cosmos, carrying with them the indomitable spirit that had taken them from cave-dwelling ancestors to star-faring pioneers. The Exodus had begun, and with it, a new chapter in human history. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Ava knew one thing for certain: humanity would face them together, united in their quest for a free future among the stars. A new home. The vast emptiness of intergalactic space stretched before the Exodus fleet, a canvas of infinite black punctuated by the faint, distant glow of alien stars. For 3 years, the HS Horizon and its companion ships had pushed deeper into the unknown, their stealth drives humming tirelessly as they sought a safe haven beyond the reach of the Zixari and their galactic confederation. Life aboard the fleet had settled into a rhythm, but the strain of their journey weighed heavily on everyone. Resources were carefully rationed, living spaces were cramped, and the uncertainty of their future was a constant companion. Yet, through it all, the human spirit of innovation and adaptability shone through. Dr. Ava Chen had transformed a section of the horizon into a bustling research center. Here, scientists from various disciplines worked tirelessly to expand their understanding of the cosmos and refine their technologies. Ava herself split her time between continuing to decipher the Zixari database and working with the navigation team to scout potential new homes. Captain Jack Harper's steady leadership had been crucial in maintaining morale. He made a point of being visible throughout the ship, sharing meals with different groups each day, listening to concerns, and always projecting an air of determined optimism. It was during one of their regular strategy meetings that the breakthrough came. "Captain, Dr. Chen, you need to see this," called out Lieutenant Zora Okafor, the head of their long-range scanning team. Her dark eyes were wide with excitement as she brought up a holographic display of a star system. "What are we looking at, Lieutenant?" Jack asked, leaning in to study the swirling map of planets and asteroids. Zora's fingers danced over the controls, zooming in on a blue-green world that hung in the Goldilocks zone of its star. "We're calling it Nova Terra. Gravity is 1.1 times Earth normal. Atmosphere is a near-perfect match." And look at this, she highlighted several regions on the planet's surface, signs of liquid water, vast forests, and conditions that could support Earth-based agriculture. Ava felt her heart race. After years of searching, could this be it? "Any signs of intelligent life?" she asked, barely daring to hope. Zora shook her head. "None that we can detect. There's certainly life. The ecosystem seems rich and diverse, but nothing technological. And here's the best part," she expanded the view to show the entire star system. "It's nestled in a dense nebula. The stellar interference would make it nearly impossible for the Zixari to detect us, even if they somehow tracked us this far." Jack and Ava exchanged a look of cautious optimism. "Well done, Lieutenant," Jack said, a smile breaking across his face. "Looks like we might have found our new home." The news spread through the fleet like wildfire, igniting a spark of hope that had begun to flicker after years of wandering. But Ava knew that the real challenges were only beginning. "We can't just land and start building," she cautioned in a meeting with the fleet's leadership. "We need to study this world carefully, ensure it's truly safe, that we won't disrupt the native ecosystem too severely." And so began a meticulous process of exploration and preparation. Probes were dispatched to analyze Nova Terra's atmosphere, soil, and life forms. Teams of scientists pored over the data, working to anticipate any challenges they might face. 6 months later, the first shuttles descended through Nova Terra's atmosphere. Ava insisted on being part of the initial landing party, her heart pounding as the alien landscape came into view. As the shuttle's doors opened, Ava took her first breath of Nova Terran air. The sky was a deeper shade of blue than Earth's, painted with streaks of the nebula that sheltered them. 2 moons hung low on the horizon, one a pale green, the other a dusty red. "It's beautiful," Jack murmured beside her, his voice filled with awe. The first days on Nova Terra were a flurry of activity. Base camps were established, samples were collected, and the first seeds from Earth were cautiously planted in alien soil. There were setbacks. Some Earth plants withered in the slightly stronger gravity, and a few team members developed allergic reactions to native pollen. But for each problem, a solution was found. Ava found herself constantly amazed by the resilience and creativity of her fellow humans. When Earth crops struggled, botanists began experimenting with hybridization, blending Terran and Nova Terran plants. Engineers designed new tools to work more efficiently in the increased gravity. Medics developed treatments for the new allergies they encountered. As the weeks turned to months, the first permanent structures began to rise. Solar panels and wind turbines dotted the landscape, providing clean energy for the growing colony. Greenhouses sprawled across cleared fields, nurturing the plants that would feed the burgeoning population. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. 6 months into the colonization effort, disaster struck. "We've got a problem," Jack's voice crackled over Ava's comm unit. "Meet me at the main hydroponics facility, now." When Ava arrived, she found Jack standing amidst a scene of devastation. Rows upon rows of crops lay withered and brown, their leaves curled and blackened. "Some kind of fungal infection," Jack explained grimly. "It's spreading fast, and none of our Earth-based treatments are working." The following weeks were a desperate race against time. With their food supplies dwindling, the entire scientific community mobilized to find a solution. It was Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a quiet xenobotanist, who finally made the breakthrough. "The fungus is native to Nova Terra," she explained, dark circles under her eyes from sleepless nights of research. "But I've isolated an enzyme from one of the local plants that seems to keep it in check. If we can synthesize it and adapt our crops." The solution worked, but it was a harsh reminder of the challenges they faced. This new world, for all its beauty, was not Earth. It would take all of their knowledge, all of their ingenuity, to make it truly their home. As the first year on Nova Terra drew to a close, Ava stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement, now dubbed New Terra City. Lights twinkled in the deepening twilight, signs of life and hope in this alien world. Children born on the journey were taking their first steps on solid ground. The first Nova Terra-born human, a girl named Nova, had arrived just a week earlier. Jack joined her, his face weathered by the challenges they'd faced, but his eyes still bright with determination. "Quite a view, isn't it?" he said softly. Ava nodded, feeling a complex mix of emotions. They had done it. They had found a new home, a place where humanity could grow and thrive beyond the reach of the Zixari. But she knew their journey was far from over. "We've come so far," she mused, "but we can't forget why we're here. Somewhere out there, Earth is still under threat. We have a responsibility to grow stronger, to advance, so that one day we can return and set things right." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch reassuring. "We will, Ava. This is just the beginning. Humanity has a new home, a new chance. And when we're ready, we'll take on the entire Galactic Confederation if we have to." As the alien night fell over Nova Terra, Ava looked up at the unfamiliar stars. Somewhere out there, the Zixari continued their oppressive rule, unaware that the seeds of their downfall were taking root on this distant world. Humanity's silent vanguard had found its fortress, and from here, they would prepare for the day when they would reclaim their place in the galaxy. The challenges ahead were immense, but as Ava looked out of the flourishing colony, she felt a surge of pride and hope. Humanity had faced extinction and chosen to forge its own path among the stars. Whatever the future held, she knew one thing for certain: they would face it together, united by their shared dream of a free future. The pursuit begins. 20 years had passed since humanity had made Nova Terra its new home. The once alien world now bustled with life, its landscape dotted with thriving cities and vast agricultural complexes. The colonists had faced countless challenges, but each one had only served to strengthen their resolve and spark new innovations. Dr. Ava Chen, now in her 60s but still sharp as ever, stood in the control room of the Nova Terran Space Observatory. The massive facility, built into the side of a mountain, was humanity's eyes and ears to the cosmos. It was here that they monitored for any signs of the Zixari, always vigilant, always prepared. Dr. Chen called out one of the younger technicians, her voice tight with tension. "We're picking up something unusual. You need to see this." Ava hurried over, her heart racing as she looked at the holographic display. A cluster of signals, faint but unmistakable, was moving through a nearby sector of space. "It can't be," she whispered, but deep down, she had always known this day would come. "Alert Admiral Harper immediately." Within the hour, the leadership of Nova Terra had assembled in the observatory's secure conference room. Admiral Jack Harper, his hair now streaked with grey, but his eyes as determined as ever, stood at the head of the table. "It's confirmed," he said grimly. "A Zixari fleet, at least a dozen ships, moving in a search pattern through the sector. They haven't detected us yet, but they're getting closer." The room erupted in a flurry of questions and exclamations. How had they found them? What were they going to do? Ava raised her hand for silence. "We always knew this was a possibility," she said, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. The question is, what do we do now? The debate that followed was intense. Some argued for immediate evacuation, to abandon Nova Terra and flee deeper into uncharted space. Others insisted they should stand and fight, to use the advancements they'd made over the past 2 decades to defend their new home. It was Nova, the first human born on Nova Terra, and now a brilliant young engineer, who proposed a third option. "We don't have to choose between running and fighting," she said, her eyes bright with the fire of innovation that had saved humanity so many times before. "We can do both." Nova's plan was audacious. Using their advanced stealth technology, they would send out a series of unmanned decoy ships, each emitting false signals mimicking human activity. These ships would lead the Zixari on a wild chase across the sector, buying time for Nova Terra to prepare its defenses and, if necessary, plan for evacuation. "It's risky," Admiral Harper mused, studying the proposed flight paths. "If the Zixari see through the deception, they'll know exactly where to look for us." "But if it works," Ava countered, "we'll not only protect Nova Terra, but we'll learn valuable information about their search patterns and capabilities." After hours of debate, the plan was approved. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity as Nova and her team worked around the clock to prepare the decoy ships. Meanwhile, the rest of Nova Terra mobilized for potential conflict. Defense systems were activated, civilians were trained in emergency protocols, and long-dormant military equipment was brought online. The day of reckoning arrived all too soon. Ava stood with Jack and Nova in the observatory's control room, watching as the first wave of decoy ships launched silently into space. "Godspeed," Jack murmured as the ships vanished into the void, leaving no trace of their passage thanks to their advanced stealth drives. For days they watched and waited. The tension was palpable as they tracked both their decoys and the Zixari fleet. At first it seemed the plan was working perfectly. The alien ships changed course, following the false trails left by the decoys. But then disaster struck. "We've lost contact with Decoy 3, a technician announced, her voice tight with stress. Nova's fingers flew over the controls, trying to re-establish the link. "It's not responding. I think they've been discovered." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If the Zixari had seen through their deception, it was only a matter of time before they traced the decoys back to their source. "We need to evacuate," Jack said, his voice heavy with the weight of command. "We can't risk the entire population of Nova Terra." But Ava wasn't ready to give up just yet. "Wait," she said, studying the movement of the Zixari ships. "Look at their search pattern. They're splitting up, spreading out to cover more ground. They're not sure where we are." A plan began to form in her mind, a desperate gamble that might just save their home. "We can use this against them. If we can lure their ships away from each other, isolate them." Jack caught on quickly. "We could potentially take them out one by one using hit-and-run tactics." Nova nodded eagerly. "I can reprogram the remaining decoys to emit signals that will be irresistible to the Zixari. We'll draw them away from Nova Terra and into terrain that favors us." The plan was risky, bordering on suicidal, but it was their best chance. Over the next few days, Nova Terra's small but advanced fleet prepared for battle. Every ship was equipped with the latest in stealth technology and weaponry, much of it reverse-engineered from the Zixari database Ava had stolen all those years ago. As the first Zixari ship approached the outer edges of the system, lured by one of Nova's reprogrammed decoys, Jack prepared to lead the attack personally. "Be careful out there," Ava said, gripping his hand tightly. "We've come too far to lose everything now." Jack managed a small smile. "We've faced worse odds before. We'll make it through this, Ava. We have to." As the Nova Terran ships launched into battle, Ava remained in the control room, coordinating the complex dance of decoys and defenders. It was a brutal, nerve-wracking conflict. The Zixari ships were powerful, but they were fighting blind, lured into asteroid fields and nebula clouds where the human vessels could strike and vanish before they could retaliate. Hours turned into days as the battle raged across the sector. Losses mounted on both sides, but slowly, gradually, the tide began to turn. The Zixari, frustrated and confused by the hit-and-run tactics, began to make mistakes. One by one, their ships were disabled or destroyed. Finally, after a week of nearly constant combat, it was over. The last Zixari vessel, its weapons disabled and its hull breached, sent out a distress call before going dark. Novaterra had won, but the cost had been high. As the battered human fleet limped home, Ava knew that this was only the beginning. The Zixari now knew they were out here, and they would return in greater numbers. But as she looked out at the faces of the people around her, tired, scared, but filled with a fierce determination, she felt a surge of hope. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. They had carved out a home in the hostile void of space and defended it against impossible odds. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever enemies might come, Ava knew that humanity would face them head-on. The silent vanguard had become a force to be reckoned with, and their journey was far from over. As the first ships began to land, bringing home the heroes of the battle, Ava turned to Nova. "We have work to do," she said, her mind already racing with plans and possibilities. "We've won this fight, but the war is just beginning. It's time to take the fight to the Zixari." Nova nodded, her eyes gleaming with the same determination that had driven humanity across the stars. "We're ready," she said simply. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." And as the sun set on Novaterra, casting the sky in shades of purple and gold, Ava knew that a new chapter in human history was about to unfold. The pursuit had begun, but now it was humanity doing the chasing. The Zixari and the entire Galactic Confederation were about to learn just how formidable humanity could be. Allies in the shadows. The victory against the Zixari scout fleet had been hard won, and in its wake, a new era dawned for the people of Novaterra. No longer content to hide and defend, humanity had decided to take a more active role in shaping its destiny among the stars. Dr. Ava Chen, despite her advancing years, found herself busier than ever. The wealth of data gathered from the recent battle had opened new avenues of research, and she was determined to unlock every secret the Zixari technology held. It was during one of her late-night research sessions that Ava made a startling discovery. Buried deep within the comm logs of a captured Zixari ship was a series of encrypted transmissions. At first, she thought they might be communication with the Confederation, but as she worked to decode them, she realized there was something else entirely. "Admiral Harper, Nova, you need to see this," Ava called, her voice tight with excitement. When they arrived at her lab, Ava played the decrypted message. A holographic figure flickered to life, distinctly alien, but not Zixari. Its body was lithe and sinuous, with iridescent scales and large, luminous eyes. "Resistance Cell Sigma reporting," the alien voice said, its tones melodic yet filled with urgency. "Zixari patrols increasing in Sector 9. Time window for supply run narrowing. Request immediate." The message cut off abruptly, but its implications were clear. The Zixari weren't just facing opposition from humanity. There were other resistance movements out there. "My God," Jack breathed, his eyes wide. "We're not alone." Nova was already at a console, fingers flying over the controls. "If we can trace this transmission, maybe we can find these other resistance fighters. We could form an alliance." The discovery energized the entire colony. The possibility of allies, of other species who had also defied the Galactic Confederation, opened up new horizons of hope. A plan was quickly formulated. They would send out a small, elite team to make contact with these potential allies. The mission was risky. It would require venturing back into Confederation space, navigating through enemy territory with only the faintest trail of breadcrumbs to follow. But the potential rewards were too great to ignore. Jack insisted on leading the mission personally. "I'm not sending anyone into that kind of danger if I'm not willing to go myself," he said firmly. Iva and Nova would accompany him, along with a hand-picked crew of their best and brightest. Their ship, the Shadow Dancer, was a marvel of human ingenuity, small, agile, and equipped with the most advanced stealth technology Nova Terra had developed. As they prepared to depart, Ava felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to venture into the unknown, to seek out allies in a galaxy that had proven far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. The journey was tense, a constant game of cat and mouse as they slipped past Zixari patrols and navigated treacherous areas of space. But Ava's decoded information proved accurate, and after weeks of careful travel, they found themselves in a remote star system, hidden within a dense nebula. "We're picking up a signal," Nova announced, her voice hushed. "It matches the encryption of the transmission we intercepted." Moments later, a ship appeared as if from nowhere, sleek, organic in design, and utterly alien. A tense standoff ensued as both vessels assessed each other, neither willing to make the first move. Finally, Ava stepped forward. Drawing on all her years of xenolinguistic study, she broadcast a message of peace in every language and format she could think of. For a long moment, there was no response. Then suddenly, a beam of light engulfed the Shadow Dancer, and Ava felt the strange sensation of her molecules being disassembled and reassembled. When her vision cleared, she found herself standing in a vast bioluminescent chamber. Surrounding her and her team were dozens of the aliens they had seen in the hologram, the Nyx, as they called themselves. "Welcome, humans," a melodious voice echoed in their minds. "We have long hoped to meet others who resist the Confederation's tyranny." What followed was a whirlwind of cultural exchange and strategic planning. The Nyx, it turned out, were part of a loose coalition of species who had managed to evade or escape Confederation control. Each brought unique technologies and knowledge to the table. The Nyx themselves were masters of bioengineering, capable of growing living ships and adapting to almost any environment. Another species, the crystalline Vex, possessed unparalleled computational abilities. The gaseous Zephyrians could traverse space without ships, serving as invaluable scouts and messengers. As Ava and her team shared humanity's story and their advancements, she could see the spark of hope igniting in their new allies' eyes. Humanity's stealth drive technology and their success in establishing a thriving colony beyond Confederation space were game changers. "For too long, we have merely survived, hiding in the shadows," the Nyx leader, a being called Xylos, told them. "With humanity's help, perhaps we can finally start to push back." The alliance that formed over the following days was unlike anything in known galactic history. Species that might never have met under Confederation rule found common ground in their desire for freedom and their resistance against oppression. As they prepared to return to Nova Terra, their ship now laden with new technologies and accompanied by representatives from their allied species, Ava felt a profound sense of hope and purpose. "We came out here looking for allies," Jack said, gazing out at the assembled alien ships that would escort them home. "We found so much more. We found a galaxy full of potential friends, of species with so much to offer. The Zixari and their Confederation have no idea what they're up against." Nova nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "Just think of what we can accomplish together. The advancements we can make, combining all our knowledge and technologies." But it was Xylos who put it most poetically, its thoughts resonating in their minds. "Apart, we were shadows, fleeing the light of oppression. Together, we become the darkness that will extinguish their false sun. A darkness full of stars, each one a beacon of freedom." As the fleet prepared to jump to Nova Terra, Ava looked around at the diverse group of beings surrounding her. Humans stood shoulder to shoulder, or tendril, or crystalline matrix, with aliens united in purpose and hope. The silent vanguard of humanity had become something greater, the vanguard of a free galaxy. The Zixari and their Confederation had sown the seeds of their own destruction, scattering resistance across the stars. Now those seeds had grown, found each other, and were about to bloom into a force that would reshape the cosmos. As Nova Terra came into view, a shimmering blue-green jewel in the vastness of space, Ava felt a swell of emotion. They had come so far from that desperate exodus from Earth. Now they were returning home, not just with allies, but with a renewed sense of purpose and the tools to forge their own destiny. The war for the freedom of all species was about to begin in earnest, and as Ava looked at the determined faces around her, human and alien alike, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The silent vanguard had found its voice, and soon the entire galaxy would hear its roar.